All right, here we go. Welcome into Hawk Talk on Melrose. I am Colin, joined today with Tyler, doing something a little different today because over the weekend we heard some good news for Iowa basketball as Trey Thompson from Tennessee, a four-star who we beat Purdue, Tennessee, and many others for, committed to Iowa on Saturday. Huge news for Iowa. Obviously, the excitement level was already through the roof, and this just adds to it. And we decided, even though, man, we are getting very close to football season, that's kind of what we've been talking about. We just felt like it was time to kind of go back to basketball a little bit, and this obviously helped getting Trey Thompson. Yeah. But let's begin here, Tyler. What is your excitement level out of 10?
It's a 10 out of 10, and the reason I say that is because it's, early July, and I'm excited for Iowa basketball. Like, I don't know the last time I can genuinely say that. And it all credit is all due to Ben McCollum. I mean, he's the common denominator in all this. It's been nothing but exciting news after exciting news since he got hired. The players that we're getting, the way he talks about wanting to play defense, and that's something me and you have wanted to hear for so long, and that we don't get it. We never got it under Fran. And just the new coaching staff itself, like all the guys that have come in and I feel like have made an impact already with even just getting some of these guys, right? And so the whole dynamic of this Iowa basketball program is different, and I think that is what makes it a 10 out of 10 in terms of excitement level for me.
Yeah, it's crazy because, like, for me, going into a season, I start getting excited come like October, November, but it's still not. It's because we're still in football season, and so I already can imagine like this year, because if like you just said, we're in early July, and I'm pumped for Iowa basketball. Like, I can't imagine come October, November, what it's going to be like this year.
I'd be lying if I said last year like I was excited when Iowa basketball started, because it does overlap with football, and I'm so into football, and I already know what I'm going to get with Fran in basketball, where I'm like, I'm not that pumped, and so it takes me so long to get into the mindset to get excited for basketball, and it's so different this year, which is awesome.
So yeah, let's talk a little bit about this commit that we just got on Saturday, and then we'll get more into kind of this excitement level. So Trey Thompson commits to Iowa. Sean Bach at 24/7 Sports kind of hinted towards it a few days prior. Just such a massive get, because if you think about it, we haven't even played a game yet. Ben hasn't even coached a game at Iowa, and he's already getting top 60 recruits. And not only that, but you're getting a guy that is reclassifying, which, to be honest with you, I didn't even know was a thing. Like, I didn't even know you could do that. So reclassifies to 2025, was supposed to be a 2026 commit, and we get him. And it sounds like the visit was phenomenal. But even at that point, Purdue was still there. Tennessee, Iowa Hoops Dave on Twitter put on his stats for this last year: 25 and 10 per game. His shooting splits: 61% field goal, 45% from the 3-point, 81% from the free throw line, 5.8 free throw attempts per game, 45%, which I just said, from the 3-point line. So he can shoot the ball from the outside. 3 stocks per game, which is steals and blocks, and only 1.2 fouls per game. So I get it's high school level, but that's really damn good. And I can see why teams like Purdue, teams like Tennessee, Indiana, Kansas, these blue bloods were wanting to get him.
And not only the fact that you mentioned those reasons why he ultimately chose Iowa over some of those teams, but I mean, Sean Bach put out another tweet and was like, and I sent it to you just before we got on, and I was like, he was quoted as saying like he really cared about the coaching staff. Like, they were all down to earth guys. They were able to joke when it was time to joke, and it was serious when it was time to be serious. And he felt like, everybody's got the facilities, everybody's got the top this and that to be the best you can be, but it ultimately came down to, it sounds like, just him relating to the players that are there right now and the coaching staff.
Yeah, and I guess that's a good transition just to talk just Iowa basketball and the program itself, is because the one thing that I am super excited for this year, and we haven't seen a game yet, but the energy, the toughness, and the defense is going to be a thing under Ben. I mean, hell, all you have to do is go watch the clips when Cooper DeJean was practicing with them,
Yeah.
and you saw the coaching staff playing pickup basketball as if they were like 20 years old, right? And that stuff can relate to the players. And I think this coaching staff, going out and getting Luke Barnwell from Texas Tech, unbelievable hire. And Ben, obviously, we already know what we have in Ben. And you have Cooper Koch going out and saying how the workouts are super intense, pretty much implying nothing compared to what it was like last year under Fran, talking about how, puked in the first week. Workouts are different, way more intense from the sounds of it. I thought it was interesting listening to Tom Kakert and Ben's podcast last week about, in the gym, there's no rest in between reps. Just like in real life, when you're playing basketball, if you get a rebound, there's no rest. You got to get back on offense. Or if you miss a shot, you got to get back on defense. There's no rest. And so when they do workouts, they don't do any rest in between. It's bam, 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 bam. And I just think all that is going to bring out that energy, that toughness. And then obviously, the defense side of the ball, which we already knew going in. I mean, the minute we got Ben, that was the biggest thing was we're going to start playing defense because Ben, that is something you got to do. You're not going to play if you don't play defense under Ben. So you knew you're going to get that. And, going back to last year at Drake, you saw that with these players. And so who knows how they're going to translate to the Big Ten level, some of these guys. Obviously I'm optimistic, but I think what you will get are those things that I just talked about, which will help us in the long run.
And it goes back to Colin when we talked about, watching those teams that made the deeper runs in the tournament, how we're just like, man, we are just not built like them, right? And I think these are the types of habits that Ben is kind of instilling in this team in the offseason already, that's what prepares you for the bigger moments, right? And to get over the hump is those things that you just mentioned. So I can't be more excited.
And we can't really speak on because we don't know what it was like under Fran, like during the offseason and stuff like that. But all I know is that definitely something wasn't there because it just didn't seem like, well, obviously defensively, that was 100. I mean, we could hear it every year. Oh, defense is getting better, but that was just not the MO. I mean, offense was the MO under Fran, but it just felt like, I always felt like we were a soft team as well. I've said that for numerous years. It just felt like we were soft under Fran. And, you go back to last year, the game that I just think of, or actually two games, because it was back-to-back games in the West Coast when we played USC and UCLA, and both games just horrible, couldn't play defense. It just showed, we just showed no, real effort. You had Fran just on the sidelines with his hands in the pockets, just no energy from the coaching staff.
From the jump.
Yeah, literally from the jump. I mean, that UCLA game, I was down in Nashville. We all went down for a weekend, and that was one of the things that we were going to do. I'll watch the Iowa game together, and we had to turn it off within the first 15 minutes because it was so bad. And once again, I don't know how we're going to be this year. I mean, there might be a couple games where we get blown out. I mean, I hope not, but that could happen. But I think the one thing that you are going to get under Ben, and I can confidently say this, is that toughness, is that energy, and that is what I'm just super pumped for because once again, it just wasn't working with Fran these last few years where it just almost felt like he was checked out. It almost felt like he was going through the motions. I don't want this episode to be about, dogging Fran because I wish him the best at Penn, but man, I mean, it could have been very easy for Beth to be like, we're going to ride one more year with Fran because of, what he's done in the past. Right. And that was a big talking point. Like, can you fire Fran for what he's done? And so it could have been an option where Fran stayed one more year. And I just can't imagine where we would be at right now because I'm telling you, Owen Freeman would have left. Josh Dix would have left because they would have got paid by Crane a couple $1 million. We wouldn't have that money. I mean, can you imagine the money situation if we still had Fran? I mean, yes, we have the revenue sharing now, but just the NIL outside of that, it'd be terrible.
I genuinely don't even want to think about what this was going to look like because we thought it was bad last year. I don't know.
It'd be terrible.
It'd be so bad. So
I have a buddy that lives in Iowa City, and I remember throughout this last season, he would always send me the crowd, and I saved one of the videos. I think I sent it to you a couple days ago. The Iowa Minnesota game last year. It looked like a high school game. I mean, there was probably 2,000 fans in the stands, and so if you had Fran one more year, and once again, you talk like the players, like I don't know if we would have many good players on this next roster because, like I said, I think Owen Freeman, I think some of these guys would have left. And I think the selling point would have been like, oh, well, what about this top 25 recruiting class that we're bringing in? Which it was. I mean, there was 3 or 4 4-stars, but then it turns out, and somebody in the boards on 24/7 said it best, turns out that recruiting class was a Ferrari with no engine because these guys were highly rated, but when they decommitted to Iowa, they all went to really small schools. Like one of them went to Louisiana. The other one, I believe, like Toledo or Kent State or something. And so clearly something's not adding up there, right? And so that would have been the selling point if Fran would have stayed. It would have been like, well, we got this recruiting class coming in. Well, yeah, none of these guys would have probably made an impact year one, and you're losing a couple of your better players. Yeah, you probably would have kept Price Sanford. Okay. And yeah, you probably would have went out. Or what?
Miami. That Miami guy. Yep, where did he end up going? Like,
gosh, I would have to look up. I don't know where he went.
I think it was down a level.
Yeah, I believe so too. No, yeah, I believe so too. You got some other guys too. I mean, Brock Harding ended up going to TCU. He maybe would have stayed. I don't know. Long story short, the excitement level would have been honestly at like a 1 if Fran would have stayed one more year. Like, I can't imagine what it'd be like. There'd be no fans in the stands. It would be really bad. And that's why thank God for Beth. Thank God for doing it. And, everything works out in the end, which is you go back to last year, like 2 years ago, when people were kind of calling for Fran and we ended up keeping him going into 2024. If we did that, if we would have let him go, we wouldn't have been this year, right? If you think about it. So it's just like sometimes patience, right? And then it ends up all working out. We get rid of Fran, and then it's like everybody's on board with Darian DeVries. And I'll be the first to say, like, he was my number one option right away too. But then the more you kind of start seeing things, it's like, I think Ben is the right guy. I'm not saying Darian wouldn't have been good at Iowa. I think he would have been fine. But I really do think we got the guy. And you see Ben now.
I think it's proven now.
I didn't even realize, like, going into it, like how big of an Iowa fan he actually was. Like, he had season tickets for football last year. Now, he only went to one game because, obviously busy, but he had season tickets for football. I literally did not know that. Goes to show how big of an Iowa fan he is. And Darian DeVries growing up was an Iowa fan too. So obviously both, but I just think Ben's the guy for us. I really do. You heard it a couple months ago, Chris Hassel talking about how, from him working at CBS Sports, he's heard from a lot of people saying how many coaches go to him for advice, for questions. So he's a smart guy. He's a younger guy. And the results speak for itself. I mean, what he did at, Northwest Missouri State and then at Drake for a year. And now, I get it. And the people that are maybe the critics will say, well, he's only done it 1 year and it was at a mid-major, never at a high major. And I get that, right? I get that. We're going to have to see how it goes. But I truly think it will work. And I think we got the roster for this next year. And that is what we're going to end on today, is talking a little bit about the roster. So I just kind of made a quick kind of what I think the depth chart might look like, along with what I think maybe projected points per game. And so let's start with the starters. And I think the starters are a little bit easier to do because I really do think this will be the starting 5. And when you look at, point guard, shooting guard, I think it's all kind of pretty easy to do. I think it's the backups where it gets a little bit more tricky because a lot of these guys, some of them can play, both the 2 and the 3, or can play both the 4 or the 5, right? But let's start with the starters. Bennett Sturts at point guard, Brendan Hawson at shooting guard, Tavion Banks at small forward, Alvaro Figueres at power forward, and Cam Maniau at center. And then the backups, once again, almost kind of positionless. Just look at the backups. I just did it this way if you're watching this on YouTube, just because it's easier to do when you do a chart. But Cale Combs, Isaiah Howard, Cooper Koch, Trey Thompson, which I firmly believe he will play a little bit this year. I think he's going to be part of the rotation. I think he's that good. Now, how good will he be? I don't know, but I think he will play. And then Trevin Urak, which I don't know. I could see him redshirting this year, but we might need him occasionally with his size at 6'11". And then Tate Sage, who is the 2025 commit, who was supposed to go to Drake. Then he transferred to Iowa. And the reason why I kind of have him in here is because it's sounding like he's been looking really good. And so he might be part of the rotation as well. I don't know yet, but that's what I think kind of the lineup is going to look like overall. And this is why I think, in year one, I think we have a chance to be pretty good, is because this is a pretty good roster. It obviously starts at the top with Bennett Sturts. I mean, he's going to be a stud for us. I mean, he's one of the best players in the country. So getting him in year one for Ben to kind of transition, because year one's always the hardest because you're bringing in all new players. And so to be able to bring in Bennett Sturts for that year one transition is huge. But the guy I'm honestly like the most excited for, obviously I'm excited for Bennett Sturts, but I'm really, really excited for Alvaro Figueres. I think he is going to be really good for us this year. I mean, he has the length. He's like 6'9". He can shoot. He can play defense. I mean, Ben even talked about that. He doesn't look very big, but he's way bigger than he actually looks. Like, he's actually pretty strong. He can play defense. He can block. He can do everything for you. And so you pair that up with Bennett Sturts, that's a great 1-2 combo.
Yeah. I mean, the talent that you listed there, I mean, these are 5 and 4 or 5 star transfers, right? And I think Tavion might have been a 3, but I think he was pretty dang good at Drake. And so I'm loving the roster. I love the size and athleticism I feel like that Ben has kind of brought with all these guys. And do we have the most dominant low post guy in the Big Ten? Probably not, but overall I love the length of this team. And that plays into like that team defense and maybe team rebounding and that's what I think will benefit us the most. Yeah, because I mean that's the thing, is that's one thing that we didn't get this year was just a dominant 6'11" center, right? But what we do have though is the length that you're talking about. I mean, that starting 5, there's no one under 6'4". So you got the length. I think the X factor here, in my opinion, is Isaiah Howard, because Ben he even talked about him at the I Club that I went to back in Arcadia. This guy, last year as a freshman, you started kind of seeing what he was able to do. And now you're in year 2. I think he can be a stud for us. I think he's a guy that's going to come off the bench. He can shoot. He can play defense. I'm really excited for him. And then Cooper Koch, obviously, in his small sample size last year before he got hurt, you saw, this guy's a 4-star. I mean, he's capable. Yep. Obviously needs to probably get a little bit bigger, but I mean, he can shoot the ball very good too. So I really like this team. Obviously, the one thing I do wish we had was maybe another backup guard player, because you get very thin, especially if there's an injury, right? You got Ben Sturts, Brendan Housen, Cale Combs, and then, I mean, Isaiah Howard's more of like he is a shooting guard, but you can also play small forward. But like outside of that, I mean, the point guard, it's very thin. And so you got an injury there and it gets really, really thin. And so, that's one thing I wish we would have got, was maybe just another backup guard. Yeah, and I'm looking at your projected total points per game. A little less than what was under Fran, but hopefully that gets made up by the fact we're not giving up 90-plus points a game, right? I always do this projected points per game, and I could be way off here. I pretty much, what I do is I look at like what they did last yeyear and then kind of go, so like Bennett, he averaged like 19 at Drake, but, playing the Big Ten, things like that. But 77.1, if that's what we average per game, I would be extremely happy, because what you just said, playing defense. And that's that's another thing too, going back to when we were talking about like these off-season clips and things like that, like the Cooper DeJean thing. There's also been other clips, where they had Bryson Williams, the assistant coach, mic'd up, and the attention to the defense side of the court is like unbelievable. That's something I know for a fact was not happening under Fran, because we were so bad defensively on the wing. Like, how many times did we give up wide open 3? And so that is a main focus. I will say this. If we are able to play a little bit more, just you can guard your guy one-on-one, it'll already be a success, because not only the open 3s count, but just the fact that our guys getting just beat off the dribble and layups against us was unreal under Fran. It was terrible. At least these last couple of years. So if guys can hold their own, we're already sitting in a better spot. So if we average anywhere from 75, 77-ish, I really do think that's puts us in a good position, because defensively, I expect the defense to be way better this year, way more, attention to detail, things like that, where if you average, what I just had, 77.1 points per game, you're going to win a lot of games, because
you feel confident that the defense is going to give up less than that. We did not feel that way under Fran. Like, it felt like every single game, it was like, we have to score 85, 90, maybe even 95 points, or hell, 117 points against Wisconsin because we gave up 116. It just was not. I mean, yeah, you won a lot of games that way, but when it mattered most, you were done. It was done.
When it came time to the tournament or the end of the season, it just, you knew a Big Ten tournament.
It bottomed out. Terrible.
It did. You knew what was going to happen, and that's what, like I said, that's why the potential of this team is really, like, I mean, I don't want to say unlimited, but it's like, it's got a high ceiling, I think, for this first year.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. I don't want to, speculate too much right now, obviously, as we get closer, but the big question is, okay, can this team, number one, be a tournament team, which I think it can be. I think, honestly, if I had to make a bet right now, maybe I'm just optimistic and just really excited, but I do think this team will be a tournament team. How far will they go in the tournament? That's going to be the next question, and we'll have to kind of wait to see on that. But I think this team has all the potential to have a really fantastic first year for Ben. And how big will that be then going into like year two? Once again, you're getting guys like Trey Thompson committing a 4-star, and we haven't even played a game yet, right, at Iowa. Yeah. So you have a pretty successful year this year where you make the tournament, maybe win a game. Obviously, going to the Sweet 16 would be great. I don't want to go that far quite yet, but make the tournament, maybe win a game there. And, that would be a great first year. Continue to build. You start getting that fan support back, because we really need to get it back to what it's like for women's, right? Where it's every game pretty much sold out, a lot of excitement, a lot of buzz in Carver. Got to get back to that. And once you get back to that, it's going to be so much easier to land pretty good recruits. I mean, hell, we're already doing it now, and credit goes to the coaching staff, right? But then if you start getting the fan support back and the buzz is back in the air in Carver and Iowa City, it's going to make it even better. And so, yeah, super pumped. Can't wait. Still a few months out, but I'm really looking forward to these next few months, obviously with football, and then come October and early November, having football and basketball. And hopefully the goal is that for football, we're having a good season. So come November, still a good season. And then you got basketball to look forward to as well. It's going to be some exciting times as an Iowa fan. So,
yeah. And the last thing I'll say about Ben, it's like, I feel like, he always talks about how Iowa is his dream job. I think now that we're, a few months into this Ben McCollum era, it's like, as a fan, this is my dream coach, right? The dude that just cares. So, like, yeah, I love that. We will end it there. Once again, we will be back in probably in about a week going over the Big Ten preview. So be on the lookout for that. That will do it for this episode. Have a good rest of your week, and go Hawks.